Ex-homeless Redditors, what was the scariest thing that you ever saw on the streets? NSFW. Not that scary, but one time I was on a park bench just killing time. This homeless dude that everyone called Red was at another bench. He came up to mine, and asked if I would watch his crap while he slept for a bit, and I said yes. So he laid down next to me, and after a while he sat up for a cigarette. About 3 drags in, he starts coughing and his face turned all purple fast. Never realized how fast people turn purple from lack of oxygen. He fell over on his side, and I jumped up and gave him a little smack on the back a few times, and I kept yelling at him to get up. I was hesitant to call an ambulance cause of hospital bills that he obviously wouldn't be able to pay, but right as I took my phone out to call, he had been unconscious for like 30 seconds at this point. He starts gasping and gets up. I asked him if he was okay, and all he says is ducking COPD and then takes a drag of the cigarette that he never even dropped the whole time that happened. Blows my mind he didn't drop it. LMAO. Kids beating the crap out of a homeless man. Started with them spitting on him. He gets up and runs after them, then a couple of them hit him from behind with some IKEA-looking wood, you know, the one that snaps easy. He gets mad and they run off. He comes back to the bench and falls asleep again. 10 minutes later they're back and they just start beating the ducking crap out of him. I had to jump in and stop them. Thank you for helping the homeless person. This thread is filled with comments like this and it's honestly mortifying. I didn't do much, just yelled and threatened to fight. But it was enough to make them run. A few weeks later they seen me in a park and tried to jump me. Older brother was with them this time. FYI, these kids were like 14 to 17, older bro was 21 to 22. I tried to explain what they're doing and he's like, don't threaten my brother, etc. IDK how you can back up family memebers that are completely scumbags. I expected him to apologize or at least understand why his dipcrap little brother was wrong. A woman giving birth at a bus terminal. Was she okay? An ambulance showed up and helped her out. I didn't hang around, but it looked like they had it under control. Cold weather. I thought I was going to die one night. I was so cold. I remember waking up thinking you need to move or you are going to die. This was the scariest thing for me. I ended up sleeping in buses, burning sterno. It's like jellied rubbing alcohol that burns for a good while. I would try to constantly be walking cause if I stopped I'd probably fall asleep and die. I also sometimes rested under a bridge from time to time. One time I fell asleep under the bridge and I woke up finally feeling warm and cozy and thought it was nice to finally be able to rest. Then I realized that it's way too cold for this and I can't move without that frozen fingers, pain everywhere. Struggled real hard to get my sterno out and could barely bend my fingers enough to light it. Like my hands were nearly useless. I'm really glad I woke up. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Edit 2. All you guys telling me you're glad I woke up got me feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. I haven't felt this happy to be alive for a long time. Thank you. I remember waking up every half hour to make sure my dog was still breathing. Cold ducking kills. Not what I saw, what I heard, if that counts. For a while I slept in an empty warehouse. I'm in the UK, so it was a huge Victorian building with about 6 floors. I slept on the 3rd or 4th floor, out of the way of casual intruders, drunks and prostitutes used that space, and one night I heard a load of shouting and a female screaming from the ground floor. Now I was 16, a junkie and about 120 pounds, so I wasn't in any position to do much, but I crept down the steps to see what was happening. By the time I got there, the place was empty and the noise had stopped, so I went back upstairs. I found out the next day they found a body in the wasteland outside. Turns out the woman was a prostitute. They assumed her client stabbed her after a struggle and she'd made a run for it before he caught her and finished the job. Always wonder if I'd been able to help, but I'd have probably got stabbed too. The scariest thing I saw was a man named Tony T. Apparently he had been a cokehead for years but had to keep a job to support his habit. He had received a huge settlement, over $500K. At which point he decided that he never had to work again. He lived on the streets and smoked cocaine all day. The best way to describe him is Tuco from Breaking Bad. He was generous with his drugs so people would naturally want to be around him. But he was unpredictable and dangerous. I have tons of stories about him being crazy aggressive, but the last time I saw him he beat a man with a pipe for dropping a tiny crack rock in the dirt. We are talking like $20 worth of dope, and he probably either killed the guy or ducked him up for life. I tried to stop him and he threatened to turn on me. I walked out, went to a phone and called my sister to come get me. She helped me get my crap together and I never went back. That was 30 years ago. Lots of stabbings and rapes. I was stalked by a gang one night on my way home from work. I still have no idea how I wasn't raped or mugged. Once I woke up suddenly to a not homeless man holding a huge knife staring at me inside the abandoned building's basement I was sleeping in. Once he noticed I was awake, he asked if I was Russian. I said no and he said he was looking for a different girl, gave me $20 and left. Edit. If you can read this and immediately think yes, it's the best idea to send this woman disgustingly perverse messages and ask for nudes. I hope your dicks stay flaccid for eternity. Not sure what the word is in English, but this guy could be a member of the Russian mafia, flesh market. Probably was looking for a runaway prostitute. Edit. The word isn't bratwa, it's a specific word for a gangster that collects runaway prostitutes. I am blue-eyed and blonde, so I'd have to deal with people thinking I was Russian way too much. Now that I am out of that life, I still get spoken to in Russian all the time. Let's see. Funny-ish. Guy at the shelter I stayed at got stabbed in the ribs by another guy. The guy who stabbed him just walked inside and attempted to go to sleep, while the guy who stabbed is sitting on a bench literally spurting blood out of his side, and he lights a cigarette. When the staff called 911 and tried to help him, he was pushing them off saying he was fine. Horrible. There was a gas station down the street, a guy paid for gas, took the hose and doused himself in gasoline. I was smoking outside and I remember him walking by outside the yard area with a lighter in his hand, arm fully extended out. He was very mentally ill, so I didn't think anything of it. I couldn't smell gas or anything like that. I continue to smoke, light another one up. About 10 minutes later I'm inside bullcrafting at the front desk and a dude runs in the front door and shouts, "Give me wet towels." A guy's set himself on fire across the street. Homeless shelters aren't in good areas, so I just walked out casually thinking some idiot at the apartments across the street had set a rug on fire and the dude who ran in was just being a dumbass. I walk out the front door and sure enough, on one of the stairwells there's flames. My thought process was basically, yep, some dumb ducks lit a roo, oh duck. The rug sat up. Me and 3 other guys ended up being the ones to put him out. He wouldn't though. I don't know if the gas had to burn off first, but probably. I don't really remember putting him out, I just remember after. I don't remember a smell or anything. The morbid thing I do remember is he was out and he just kept shouting, my balls are on fire. Put out my balls. He died 3 days later. I was told it wasn't the first time he'd done something like this. The shelter ended up sending me to therapy, and the woman was the best therapist I'd ever had. I still get weird sometimes and can't really watch people on fire in movies anymore. Edit. This happened around 2011 in Kentucky, so it's a while back now. I've been slowly putting my life together again since then. The last time I was homeless was in 2014. Was homeless for a summer and an acquaintance through the party scene of the town invited me to crash on her couch. Woke up in the middle of the night to her screaming into her phone about how they are out to get her and are setting the world up for destruction. Pretended like I was still asleep and got out of there the next day real quick. Smart move leaving. Otherwise they might have targeted you too. Or worse, he might have become they. People who had been homeless way longer than me. Trust me. There is nothing scarier on the streets than the meth couple who this has been their day in and day out for 1,000s of days. People joke about meth, but unless you've been around chronic users, you don't understand how truly scary it makes people become. Like a whole new level of animalistic, impulsive, not right in the head people. I ducking hate meth. Fuck meth. I know plenty of drug users that can do drugs casually for recreation, except meth. I never met anyone that done it more than a handful of times that didn't end up crashing and burning. Lost a few people, they're not dead but merely a meth-fueled husk of their former selves. I was just sleeping around where other guys in my city sleep, then just see some teens stabbing one of the homeless guys multiple times, ran away from there, never turned back. Biggest thing, 3,115 pounds, was how often people try to abduct you. That and how often people try to serve you tampered food. The teenagers trying to get clout by assaulting, pranking you is another one. When I was 17 I worked at a little pizzeria. Some nights we have leftover pizzas that were meant to sell by the slice. This particular night I had a full Supreme and I decided to bring it home instead of throwing it away. It was raining that night. While driving home I see a homeless person under an overpass and decide to give him this whole pizza. I pull back around, explain to him that I work at a place and I wanted to give him this whole pizza. He refused to accept it and said that I'd probably baked cockroaches into it or something. I was pretty upset by this and it kinda ruined my desire to give for years, but you talking about people giving you tampered food made me feel like this guy had every reason to be suspicious of me. When I worked at a pizza place named for a short emperor, we had a dumpster out back where we threw out the pizzas we hadn't sold at the end of the day. This was often 10 or so pizzas. The local homeless population knew to go diving for these pizzas and there were times we would see them waiting and just hand them over. Top management wanted us to pour bleach on the pizzas before putting them in the dumpster, but the manager refused to actually do it because he wasn't a crappy person. I left within a month of that directive. Snow. I'm a big, scary dude, so I never had trouble with people picking on me or whatever. In that sense the streets were safe to me, but seeing snow for the first time that year just made me cry and panic. It was too early for snow, I wasn't ready for that type of cold and was hoping to be on my feet again before the winter came. Beautiful thing like snow just ducked me up in so many ways. Hope things are looking better for you now. Thank you. Oh yeah, I turned it around. This was 7 years ago. I was making art from trash and selling it in markets and posting it on the streets. I became pretty known for it. I've traveled the world for exhibitions and worked with very famous artists. I'm still struggling with money. I work non-stop and now with the virus I'm struggling even more, but I rent a house with a big garden for my dog and own a car. I'm far away from that life and I don't think I'll ever be in that position. Edit. Really humbled and overwhelmed by all the messages and positive thoughts. My IG is @glil247 for people who want to check out my work. All my love and best wishes to you, wonderful Redditors. I saw a really angry bald man aggressively masturbating his flaccid dick. TBH, that was probably the most scary thing. I've been homeless for about 4 months some years ago. At first I could stay with friends, but I didn't want to overstay my welcome. I'd actually lie to them telling them I've got some place to go to. Luckily in those 4 months I only had to really sleep outside for about 2 weeks. The first scary thing was just finding where to sleep. Where people can't see me and it's relatively dry. Then when I finally found places to sleep, first was in a park between some bushes, second was in a tiny playhouse in a public playground, 3D was under a bridge, and then again some nights in the park between bushes. I was constantly worried about people seeing me. The other scary thing was every single sound. A car drives by slowly, are they going to hurt me? Some drunks in the distance singing, if they see me they'll definitely are going to duck around with me and be idiots. The next scary thing was the cold. I would only sleep very lightly for about 30 minutes at a time and wake up shivering. I was 19, 1 meter 80, I think that's about 6 feet. And 95 kgs, 190 pounds? So not a small guy, and I was scared as hell. I imagine it's so much worse for women. My best advice would be, don't be an idiot and ask for help. Although it was extremely tempting, I didn't abuse drugs or alcohol, I didn't look homeless, I was just a big idiot thinking I can fix this by myself, I don't want to impose on people etc. I was 19 back then, I'm 33 now and I'm happily married and we have a nice home. Everyone is gonna try to steal from your ass, so watch your crap. Keep your mouth shut and find a good place that is desolated from nocturnal animals and assholes. Don't try to make friends, they will turn on you in a heartbeat. I found a few friends on the street, but I never went to shelters, or near groups. I kept to myself on the outside of the city and walked in every day. I met a few people that did the same thing, and they were all reasonably nice people. We would meet up usually on walks back out and trade and share what we got that day. But after I type that, you're right, don't make close friends, and don't let them know where you sleep. I had been homeless for a couple weeks now and had made friends with this couple. They seemed pretty chill but had a bit of a drinking problem. Anyway, one night I was sleeping, could hear some commotion going on, couldn't make out who it was or what was going on, until my buddy comes and sits on my sleeping bag, blood pumping out of his neck, like full on. Every time his heart beat it would splurt out, not under huge pressure but it was pretty bad. I asked him what happened and he said he think his missus had cut his throat with a Stanley blade. He was so drunk he was not aware of how bad his injury was, and insisted I did not call an ambulance. So I called the police, they called the ambulance. I see the dude a couple days later, still homeless, scar on his neck. He's ever so grateful the nurse had told him how lucky he was literally a couple millimeters away from dying that night. Edit. I am no longer homeless, this all happened about 6 years ago now. I no longer speak to him, this is another long story. She was arrested but not charged, last year she committed suicide so she's no longer with us. In my years being a homeless junkie and then cleaning up kinda and working at a homeless shelter, on the street, I saw a dude try to murder his girlfriend with a machete, like full on swing and barely miss, and my heart was ducking pounding like I was sure I was about to witness a murder. I also saw countless odds and crap, saw a girl beaten to crap who had just been raped asking for help. Saw a dude get stabbed. Saw a big huge dude have a heart attack and die and the paramedics frantically trying to give him chest compressions and crap and he was just flopping around. Saw a lot of crap honestly, but those were the ones that come to mind as scaring the crap out of me the most. I have a million stories from those years and half sound fake cause they are so ridiculous.